Hey guys, Tarke here with a live vid, so you've got chat talking rubbish on the side here. People ask you about my opinions on the Ascendancies, so I made like a Tarke Ascendancy list, and I thought I'd just explain my point of view and maybe give my point of view on where stuff should be buffed, where stuff should be nerfed, and I'll occasionally make reference to stuff in the background. So I've separated this into like 4 tiers. Tier 0 is just like, this is just the best. If you tell me your build is that tier, I will never question it. I'll be like, okay, it makes sense. Tier 1 is like, it's just really solid, has a lot of versatility, is really powerful, just general, very solid all-rounders. They excel at something. Tier 2 is kind of like, these are actually very powerful, but pretty niche. You kind of need to explain why you're doing them, but when you tell me what the build is, I'll be like, fair enough, that makes sense. Tier 3 is kind of like the, you need to really convince people why you're playing these, pretty underdoggy. They still have some use, but it's kind of like, eh. And then Tier 4 is like the dumpster trash outside of that one rule, okay? So, for the Tier 0, I have Necro, and these are in no particular order. Necro, Slayer, Inquisitor, Pathfinder, and Guardian. Necro is just super powerful. Amazing for hardcore, amazing for softcore. They've said they're going to be doing big like rebalancing going forward. I would maybe nerf it. The reason why I say I'd maybe nerf it, I don't like how Necro is like the only option for summoners. I would maybe bring down the Spectre damage node. I think it's kind of too powerful. With just like 100% damage. You could bring it down, people would still play it. Spectre's really powerful. Everyone's playing Spectres now. Maybe nerf that a little bit, but otherwise it's kind of fine. Slayer, I don't think... Okay, so I often don't like it when people say, this is the problem, nerf this, and they don't fix the problem. I think the problem with Slayer is Leech. Rebalance Leech, don't just kill Slayer, because if you just kill Slayer, then you have the situation where... Then later, when you rebalance Leech, Slayer then feels really trashy, right? Slayer will always feel pretty good because it has generic damage, generic AoE, Onslaught and Cull. So even if they completely destroyed Leech, it would still see use. Also, it does also have Bleed and Stun Immune. So, yeah, even if they completely destroyed Leech, Slayer would still see play. So the more I say that, yeah, they need to rebalance the Leech aspect of it. It's just kind of too good. Inquisitor. Inquisitor has loads of damage, and it has loads of utility. I think it having the elemental penetration stripping, while it is pretty stupid and pretty powerful, because there's so much free available pen now, that's kind of like brought Inquis kind of in line from a damage point of view. When it first came out, I said this is stupid, everyone said it's stupid. Now it's so easy to get pen, they keep making more items which give pen. I wouldn't actually nerf the damage of Inquis, I would nerf the utility. The thing which I think is dumb about Inquis is how it has so much damage, and it's also one of the best mapping ascendancies. So the main thing I would really look at is the attack speed and cast speed aspect of Inquis. I wouldn't remove it completely, I would just tone it down a little bit, but yeah, that's my main issue there. Pathfinder, even though Pathfinder is super underrepresented in the recent league statistics, Pathfinder is OP. Pathfinder is really OP. Do not buff Pathfinder. Pathfinder is really good. Don't nerf it, because it's not seeing crazy play, but it's really powerful. Then Guardian. So, yeah, probably too niche to nerf. It's very good at a few builds. From a support point of view, people are often playing other things, but you do still sometimes see the old Guardian support. It's really good. Probably just kind of leave it as is. Aura bots, supports in general, are super powerful, but you can't really nerf them because it's such a niche thing in the game that it then completely kills any fringe solo players doing it. I would also like to see more summoners go stuff like Guardian, then go Necro. That's why I kind of like the thought process of nerfing the Spectre damage of it. So, yeah. Also, for the Dune chat saying that logic, season no play it, but it's OP, blah, blah, blah. I think that Guardian kind of has a place, and yeah, I don't know. If they did nerf it, I would understand it, but I don't think it really needs it, and I don't think they will because of just player perception. Right, Tier 1. Zurka, I think Berserker's fine. I like that it has easy accessibility to cast Leech, and it still has good damage, it's fine, leave it as is. Raider is a weaker Pathfinder, but it's just a smoother Pathfinder to play for a lot of people, so it's fine. If they wanted to, they could buff the Onslaught 4-pointer, because no one ever takes it. Otherwise, don't touch it. Ascendant, rework the bad options, basically that. The main one which really screams to me is Saboteur. It's ridiculous in my mind that it doesn't give either trap throwing speed, trap cooldown reduction, or mine arming speed. I want to see a rework of traps. I think trap cooldown should be reduced pretty much across the board. I feel like we should have more baseline trap mine arming speed, and trap throwing speed, but it should definitely be there. But yeah, there are just a few ones in here which just really obvious need improving. So that's that. Gladiator, I think Gladiator is fine. It's not as good as Slayer in my opinion, for fairly obvious reasons, but it's really powerful. Always sees really good use, and yeah, doesn't need any changing. Trickster is really powerful. Again, you can use it for a lot of different builds. The fact that it has power and frenzy charge generation is always really good. If they rework charges, which they wanted to do, then you might need to relook at Trickster. The only thing which actually feels a little bit bad in Trickster is the fact that Weave the Arcane doesn't work very well with Trickster's main builds. So Weave the Arcane wants you to have a very spammy playstyle to constantly be recovering mana. Essence Drain Contagion doesn't spam super hard outside of like movement skills, so it's good for that. And then Scorching Ray with channeled skills, this only procs off the first tick. So this only really works for like your movement, not actually for like your main like play. That feels a bit weird to me, but that's more to do with the mechanics of the skills rather than the node. But if this did work for channeled skills better, that would be nice. Otherwise, I think it's kind of fine. And then Jug is Jug. Jug always sees a lot of use because Uberlab is super profitable. Jug is fine. Tier 2. A lot of people are probably really confused as to why I put Deadeye in Tier 2. Deadeye gives a lot of damage. Nearly everything in Deadeye is just damage. That is the good and bad thing about it. It is amazing for Kinetic Blast, and it is amazing for Tornado Shot. Tornado Shot and Kinetic Blast are really powerful skills. If they ever killed KB or Tornado Shot, no one would play Deadeye. While KB and Tornado Shot exist, Deadeye will always be a very solid league start and racing option for those two skills. Because they're such powerful clear skills, they make up the fact that Deadeye has no real utility. So, I actually think Deadeye is very problematic. It doesn't need more damage, it needs utility. However, if you give it too much utility, then it just becomes a better Raider and a better Pathfinder. So it's really awkward. And for anyone who's still saying, but Deadeye's terrible, there's a reason why it's consistently used in races. People like Havoc and Steel use it so much. It's really good for like Kinetic Blast and Tornado Shot at the start. I would like to see it have more use for projectile spells. A lot of it is like projectile attack damage. Fire Shot doesn't work on spells. I'd like to see the more options of doing spell-based Deadeye. I've already made a video just about it. I'd also like to see it have 2 proj rather than 1. Since they've made projectiles easier to get with the new Shaper mods, I don't think having an extra proj here would be that troublesome. And also with how Pathfinder scales with crazy investment, this having another proj I think is fine. They've also been nerfing like Barrage Helm Enchant. So yeah, I would give this extra proj really. The chain aspect, considering there are other Ascendancies which have better parts of skill gems, for example, Slayer has 20% Cull, which gives you Onslaught, which is just better than Cull. You have stuff which gives you Prolif and better with Elementalist. You have things which just give you better versions of other things. So this should be a better chain. This should be +2 chain, or it should be stuff which chains then forks, or something. I think it being just one chain is a little boring. Give it chain and something else. It doesn't have to be like buffing the chain. It could be like chain and then more attack speed, or chain and then you have movement speed, projectiles travel. Give it another line of text, basically. It should have another line of text. Yeah. I would also make it bleed immune. The move while bleeding doesn't cause you to take extra damage. Slayer has bleed immunity. Other things get immunity to ailments. Just give this bleed immune. Yeah, give it. another thing which would be interesting, since both of these get elemental immunity, maybe give this like stun immunity, bleed immunity, stuff which other things get. Give this things these two can't get. So for example, if your build really struggles against this one mechanic, but you can get it from this, haha, then PogChamp. Yeah, I don't know. Give it something which feels unique. Currently, there's nothing unique about Deadeye. It just kind of feels like a league starter option. Occultist. I think Occultist is fine. I think people don't realize how powerful both hybrid and CI and low life still are. Every single individual part of Occultist is really powerful. I don't really know what you would buff about it. Profane Bloom is good. You could maybe up the chance, but it's still really powerful. It's still a 10% more multiplier. An extra curse is really, really powerful. Chaos Pen is really powerful. Wicked Ward is powerful. Vile Bastion is powerful. Even Forbidden Power is really powerful, even though it doesn't see much use. Yeah, Occultist is really good. Don't buff it. Don't nerf it. Just leave it as is. It's solid. Doesn't really need anything changing about it. Saboteur, mines are OP. Mines are really strong. It's good for that. Traps feel pretty terrible. I want traps to be reworked, as I've previously mentioned. But yeah, Chain Reaction. I've recently played a Inquisitor Trapper. Worked really well. Cleared up to tier 15 maps on it. No problem at all. Seems good. And I would always play that over a Saboteur now that we have Tinkerskin. Because of how badly cooldown recovery hits diminishing returns. If you keep stacking like cooldown recovery for traps, when you have Chain Reaction giving you 40%, then get 30% from Hasty Reconstruction, then another 30% from Tinkerskin. It feels bad, so I would rework the cooldown mechanic. I would rework the whole traps trigger when nearby traps trigger. Also, a very big thing which nerf traps that people may not be aware about. The AoE nerfs killed trap trigger range. The trap trigger range used to be like 30 when you stacked a bunch of hair trigger jewels. Now, with 3 hair trigger jewels, it's barely 19 range. It's really bad. Really, really, really bad. Yeah. I would buff trap trigger radius across the board. Also, Bomb Specialist is maybe something to look at. Since it's really good for AoE and terrible for anything which isn't AoE, maybe give it something which feels nice for projectiles. The Blind 2-pointer is strong. Explosive Expert is strong. Blind 4-pointer is terrible. Really, really bad. And, yeah. Buff that. Maybe look at Bomb Specialist. Champion is a really dangerous ascendancy. It has the problem where Fortify is broken. Fortify is dangerous. If you ever really buff it, then everyone plays it. It used to be really good, but then they reworked Taunt because people were cheesing Shaper. So, yeah, it's kind of powerful. It's really good for Curse on Hit supports. If you crazy buff it from the point of view of giving it too much extra utility on the Taunt aspect, then you make Curse on Hit supports even more powerful. I don't know if they want to do that. So, yeah, I feel like it could do with something. I feel like the Fortify path could maybe be made better. Don't make the Fortify aspect of it better. Don't make Fortify more powerful. But maybe you have Fortify and then another line of text. Or make the Unstoppable Hero feel a bit better. Yeah, it's an awkward, very powerful ascendancy. There are more multipliers hidden here. If you made the Taunt better, remove the stupid Taunt map mod, which just kills your entire ascendancy. But the reduced damage taken if you taunt an enemy recently. Taunted enemies take 20%. That's a 20% more multiplier. This is really good. But then you have map mods which stop your build from working, and your build doesn't work on some bosses. So, yeah. They need to rethink the taunt mechanic, personally, of this bit. Otherwise, Champion would be in a pretty good spot. And then we get into the tier 3. So again, if people are playing these, I'm kind of yeah, makes sense to me. Tier 3s are kind of So both Hero and Chieftain aren't necessarily bad ascendancies. They're both very good at some things. But they struggle from being either overly niche or bad player perception. I think there should be a lot more Hyros than there currently are, but we'll talk about Hyro first. So if we look at Hyro on an individual basis, Illuminated Devasion, very powerful, Definitely very powerful with Shaper and Elder items. Shaper and Elder items are here to stay. 40% increased AoE feels kind of bad, man, with the whole, AoE rework. But yeah, really solid. Definitely works. Maybe change what some of these do. Maybe look at some of the values. But yeah, I would also give this life and mana leech for the boot leech thing, just because that'd be kind of nice. That'd be interesting. Pursuit of Faith is crazy OP, and people don't realize how OP this is. The S shield giving you ramping damage on kill is broken. This is that. You get ramping damage every time you kill. It's really, really good. You also get Totem Placement Speed. Totem Placement Speed is really, really good. Ritual of Awakening. Ritual of Awakening is really good. If you're playing a Ritual of Awakening build, you don't take Ancestral Bond on the tree. It saves you a bunch of skill points. The problem with Ritual of Awakening is mostly player perception, in my opinion. There's 7% less damage per totem. Kind of sucks, but doesn't really suck that much. And just go for 3 totems, don't go for 4. But they could nerf this to down to 5%. They could remove it completely. I would probably look at changing this one thing and then it would see a lot more play. But I think Cairo is better than people think it is, but whatever. This is good. It gives you power and endurance charge generation. You could make them both 25% rather than 15 and 25. But yeah, really powerful. Charge generation is powerful. Charge generation enables builds. Better Mom is good. This is really powerful. And this is actually also pretty powerful because this randomly just gives you a couple of thousand energy shield. Anyone who's played a half-decent Mind of Matter focused character as a hero before, you get this one node and it just gives you 1,000 energy shield. This was some random Scorching Ray Trickster that I mopped up. This would just give me a flat 847 energy shield with no items equipped, with just that. So yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah. Maybe just look at the totem aspect of it. So next we go into Chieftain. Chieftain is way too niche in my opinion. I've always thought Chieftain was a stupidly set up Ascendancy, just because it's okay, we have the Fire Totem Ascendancy, when we already have Elementalist doing elemental stuff, and we already have High Road being the Totem Ascendancy. So we have 2 Ascendancies fighting for Totem hierarchy, and then this random fire thing, which doesn't really make much sense to me. The main thing which it's got going for it is the Totem Taunt. You can also get Totem Taunt from Scion. The 2 kind of main builds you kind of see are Ancestral Warchief Totems, and then Righteous Fire Totems, and basically I want my totems to do some kind of taunting. So Tugahama's War Herald is fine. I think that Ramako's Sunlight is pretty meh, and I think that Tauha is pretty meh. I think Namahu is pretty meh. And I think Hanakura is kind of okay-ish, but kind of meh. If it had inbuilt fire to physical conversion, that would be kind of interesting. Most of these builds kind of work if you go Avatar of Fire on them. Maybe that'd make it feel more attractive for normal Sunder Chieftain, attack-based Chieftain. This had 50% physical to fire conversion. This plus Avatar of Fire would then make you a pure fire build, and then you might see oh, I'm my pure fire Sunder build or whatever. I don't know if I really like that idea, but the main thing that I would really like it to have is Iron Will. Iron Will is a natural no-brainer to just give to Chieftain. It should be, I want to make a strength-based caster, you should go Chieftain. I don't know why it doesn't have Iron Will. Other Ascendancies have other support gems. Other Ascendancies have more powerful things. Giving it Iron Will wouldn't be broken. Giving it Iron Will wouldn't buff the main builds that really play it too much. And it would make stuff like Flame Totem better. The kind of niche, spellcastery things that if you want to play a Flame Blast Totem build or a Flame Totem build, if fire comes back as a really solid element again, then it makes sense that you play a more strength-focused caster totem build. Or if you want to play an attack-based build, you have more fire conversion stuff in there. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. It sees some use, but is kind of just a bit uninspired. I think that's the main thing I'd say. It's an uninspired Ascendancy. So then the 2 next Ascendancies, the memes, Elementalist and Assassin. I would say that both Elementalist and both Assassin are actually problem Ascendancies because they're so tied into Ignite and Poison. So we'll go with Elementalist first. So as you can see, I noted down here. Elemental Leech or Conversion. Prolif is dangerous, always shit or AP. I would be tempted to completely separate Elementalist from Prolif because of how problematic Prolif is. I would really, really, really like to see Ignite come back. I really miss Ignite builds. However, if Ignite builds come back, everyone just plays Elementalist again. So, awkward. I don't know. If they removed it, that might be the only really good thing going for it, especially since a lot of it was also about getting Reflect immunity, and they've completely reworked Reflect. I think it would be very cool to have some kind of generic elemental leech for both life and mana. Therefore, spellcasters would have more leech options than just going Berserker. I think if Berserker can have generic leech, I think Elementalist having pure elemental generic leech would be fine. Some people have thrown around the ideas of leech based on ailments. I don't really like that idea too much because then it may make certain map mods very awkward because you then can't run cannot leech and then you cannot run map mod avoid elemental ailments, etc. Just give it something cool like that. Yeah, I don't know. Also, Mastermind of Discord is interesting but a little bit awkward. Interesting but awkward is kind of this whole Ascendancy. I also really dislike golems. Yeah. I really dislike golems, but you can't really nerf the golems, because, you know, some people like playing golems. So, maybe remove it from Prolif, so you can then buff back Ignite, maybe give it generic Elemental Leech, and, yeah, it would probably see a lot more use then. That's basically that. And then Assassin. So Assassin has another similar issue, where it's so heavily tied into damage over time and crit. I think that the old crit per power charge, instead of just you get base crit on maximum power charges, I don't know why they made that change. The whole Deadly Infusion change made no sense to me. I think giving it crit per power charge makes it better to stack power charges. That's what Assassin should do. Assassin should just stack all the power charges. Assassin should be the, I want to play a Herald build, I want to play a crit Incinerate build, I just want to make a low base crit weapon crit, I'm going to go Assassin. Yeah. Give us the old crit per power charge rather than at maximum. It also makes Assassin feel really awkward to play because it's like you don't have crits until you have your power charges which give you crit. It's awkward. I also think Unstable Infusion is a really horrible two-pointer because once you're fully crit capped, you then always crit. So then you lose your power charge generation. So that's awkward. And then if you lose your power charge generation and then you lose your power charges, you then build stops working. I know that realistically you'll always have this coming from like shield charge or whatever, but just make it power charge on crit, then it feels amazing and it just makes everything feel a bit smoother. I think Ambush and Assassinate are fine. And then these are like the super dangerous 4-pointers. Noxious Strike should never give skill effect duration. It shouldn't have given skill effect duration before. Skill effect duration used to affect poison. That's why they put it there. Skill effect duration doesn't affect poison anymore. Change this to poison duration. If you change this to 30% poison duration, and before we say that be OP or whatever, Pathfinder has 20% poison duration. So that means Assassin, who should be more poison focused because the 4-pointer can have 30%. It also makes Assassin feel better for stuff like Earthquake, stuff like Stormcall. If they ever make more Static Strike, lol. If they ever make more skills which interact with skill effect duration, it feels really bad when you want to play a crit Earthquake build. Let's say you want to do Earthquake Varanastra, for example. Well, then Assassin would make loads of sense for that. But then if you want to go poison-based, oh wait, Noxious Strike makes my build bad. So get rid of the skill effect duration, make this poison duration. Seems good. Getting chance to cause bleeding, chance to cause poison is very solid. You could make those higher if you wanted to, but it's fine. Maim is a decent mechanic, so that's fine. And then Toxic Delivery is pretty good, to be honest. It gives you physical damage gained as extra chaos against bleeding enemies. You're always bleeding, this is a pretty big multiplier. And then it gives you more damage on bleed, more damage on poison. So if bleed and poison are ever good mechanics, Toxic Delivery is good. So it's like, it's a problem with Ascendancy, much like Elementalist. When bleed and poison are really powerful, Assassin's really powerful. When Ignite's really powerful, Elementalist is really powerful. You either remove them from that identity, or you make the identity feel better, so change that to poison duration. But yeah, that's basically that. And that is how I, personally, would rebalance some of the Ascendancies going forward. And, yes. One thing that I would also like to just kind of throw out there at the end of this video, which is very long, sorry, it would maybe be interesting if they added an extra 2 nodes in 6.2. That's something they could maybe do. They could maybe make a 3rd or a 4th 4-pointer. So yeah, that would be kind of interesting. So to quickly recap, Necro, Slayer, Inquisitor, Pathfinder, Gladiator, Guardian at the top, and then at the bottom I've put Elementalist and Assassin. Although I realise there's always that one niche build which is good. This is just my personal opinion. And again, Pathfinder is better than Raider. Bye-bye.